In this example, we're going to factor a trinomial. The first thing I notice about this trinomial is that we have a negative sign out front. In order to factor any trinomial, you must have a positive number for your first term, as long as it's in descending order. So the first thing we'll need to do is we'll need to factor out that negative sign. Factoring out the negative sign changes every sign of the polynomial. Now that we have the negative sign pulled out, we're going to factor the trinomial using the grouping method. In the grouping method, the first step is to take and multiply the first and last coefficients together. Now the grouping method says we need to find two numbers that if we were to multiply those two together, we find the answer that we just found in one multiplying the first and last terms. But if we were to add them up, we were to find the middle term of negative 23. Now let's think about this for a minute. In order for a product to be positive, that would mean we would have to have either two positives or two negatives. Since the sum is negative, that means that we would be looking at two negatives. So we're going to list out all combinations of numbers that multiply together to give us 120 and let each one be negative. The combination of numbers that multiply together to give me a positive 120 but add up to give me negative 23 would be negative 8 and negative 15. So now we're going to rewrite the expression, and instead of writing negative 23pq, we'll write negative 8pq minus 15pq, using the numbers that we found in our previous step. At this point, we're going to use the grouping method. We'll split these in half. Now let's factor out what the first half has in common. From 20 and 8, I see that 4 will divide both of those. And I also notice that they both have a p in common. This would leave me with 5p minus 2q. Now let's look at the second group. Notice that the first term is negative. This is another good indication that you will need to pull out that negative sign. If we pull out the negative sign, I also see that 3 will divide both 15 and 6, and I see that they both have a q in common. This would leave me with positive 5p minus 2q. Again, notice that we have the same expression in our parentheses. This is what we have to have in order for grouping method to work. I'm going to drop down my negative sign. I'm going to write what's in the parentheses. Essentially what we're doing is we're pulling out the 5p minus 2q. And here I can just cross these off just so I can see what's left. What's left is 4p minus 3q. And I am finished.